In the previous program, we have already talked about how after Song Gong stole the plate and stole the first burden, he went down to the heavens and returned to Huagua Mountain, and then planned to send 100,000 days and go to the fruit of the foot. Regarding the bodhisattvas coming to Zhuzhen to bring Li Qianwang's second son Mu Chai to fight with this pine offering, of course, he also worshipped Jin'er and returned, after Mu Chai returned to Tian. The picture stone is like a jade land will explode his own battle situation, saying that yesterday he scolded the River King for a fight, and only did some wolf rush to report alone, let alone say that he is a monkey star. As soon as the bodhisattva heard this, the ground tore up. What is the bodhisattva thinking while he is tearing apart? After reading the seal, Yudi laughed when he saw the words for help. How much can Bernai, the monkey gold, used to drive down more than 100,000 days, and King Li Tianwang came to ask for help again, but which divine soldier will help him? After reading the badge, Yudi smiled. This smiled, containing a very windy attachment. Hurry up to these 100,000 days, none of them are in the same line with me. Okay, let's walk and see. Now let's analyze this situation. In order to make the Tathagata appear, King Li deliberately arrested and sent the wind ineffectively. The second is about the bodhisattva not wanting to offend the Tathagata, so he refused to go out of the city directly. Third, Yudi himself can't go to the truth in person, meaning, the supreme veteran is looking at Yudi in the cold spot. How to collect? Fifth, that is, the Tathagata hiding behind the scenes is still waiting to be invited at home. I have to say, or about the bodhisattva's reflection of the broad, immediately said the countermeasure he thought, the jade words may not be about the long seat, your majesty is relaxed, listen to the sound of raising a god amiable this is good, about the bodhisattva is not an ordinary person, but Huangqing International is the green outer of the Jade Emperor's land. In the cultivation of the original residents of the sixth combination, there is a book. It is simply that Guanzhou Guanjianku wants to be with the following. He once stood 6 monsters in his subordinate days, and there are the Maishan brothers who raised the first 1,200 grasshead gods, and the magical powers are vast. Then he just listened to the hanging or not, his majesty can give a hanging soldier, and he can live in a change with his own eyes. This Erlang god has to teach Yudi to be an uncle for life, but his relationship with this uncle is really not very good. The uncle is a jade land, but Erlang Shen lives in someone else's house, and he loves this uncle Dabri, listening to the hanging or not listening to the announcement. What does it mean? It's just that you want me to listen to what you like, yes, but you want me to see you, no way. After the sixth great sage saw Erlang Shen, he said something like this. I remember that Yudi's sister Su Sanxia borrowed in Yang Jun's business in Nanhai and was ashamed to criticize Taoshan. Is that you? 1. What does it mean here? That is to say, this Erlang god is Su Xingzi, and his mother was locked up by Yudi. There is a son. We came up with a shocking information. The gods, it turns out that they can also give birth to children, but after giving birth, Yudi's sister was locked up, saying that it was stopped tomorrow. It is forbidden for immortals to have children. Hey, do you remember when you sent Kong Shuei? At the beginning, this journey to the West season actually broke the ban on sex, and the gods used to be universal in any way of practice. So why does the sky stop to prohibit immortals from giving birth to children? First of all, the value of children's existence is to pass on the final bullet. If you can grow old yourself, then why do you still have children? You still have to support him to work, he goes to school, buys him a house to go to his daughter-in-law, and may eventually come to force your price. In this way, he talked about how much production was, it was also limited, so the number of immortals had to be strictly limited, and the limited immortal resources could only be allocated to limited immortals. The gods have broken through the changes of the witch species. Can you imagine what kind of children who Li Jin and the cow and pig king will give birth to? The child may have a genetic mutation, and there was no subtraction at that time. You will never know what will be born. I'm afraid you think about it. Therefore, although the immortals can have children, but for all reasons, the flatness is prohibited for the gods to give birth, so the immortals, you must either take measures to avoid transportation, or you will give the price yourself after you are born. Of course, there is another magical thing in Journey to the West, that is, the right to abortion. Therefore, in this case, it can be said that there are very few children who can be born and survive smoothly in Journey to the West, and each one is not simple. The reason why Yang Jian has been able to live to this day is not as simple as luck. Let's take a look at the original residents of Journey to the West, which other characters have children. First of all, we want life. Journey to the West is the original residence, from beginning to end. There is no such thing as a clean sun, just an oath work, make some changes, you such as painting Shan's gold biting silver, biting the king, that is the son of Hu Li Jin, the Red Sea, is the son of Princess Tiashan, and he is entrusted to Li Tianwang to have 3 sons and a daughter. After the wolf descended to earth, he gave birth to 2 sons with Princess Baihua and Jing, and the Dragon King actually gave birth to several children, and each of these children has a story, and each of them is not simple. Let's talk about it, the relationship between Erlang Shen and Yudi here. Yudi's sister passes. Do you think Yudi knows? We can be sure that Yudi did not strictly abide by the policy of prohibiting childbirth every day, and the money was not only successfully born and his son survived, not only survived, but also grew into a handsome guy, and also made the old mother of Tongshen talk about beating the 8 monsters of Huangli Pig. These read dividends and profits, until the Jade Land showed the true army for the sun. If there is no support from Yudi, can Erlang Shen learn the penalty? The class will not offend, and the Jade Land of climbing is mastered. Therefore, today, it can be said that Yudi single-handedly saved Erlang Shen. Yudi needs a force independent of the heavenly court in the world, and it is definitely a good choice to accompany his Qingwai Erlang Shen. This Jade Land and Erlang Shen seem to be contradictory on the surface, but they hide Yudi's full love, of course. Erlang Shen is indeed competitive, and Erlang Shen secretly solves many problems for Yudi in the world. Guan Yi knew the relationship between Erlang Shen and Yudi early in the morning, and if Erlang Shen made a move, he would never be soft. After the sun came to show up, he said, he must take a change in his voice here, and the workers will not slow down the king, as long as the surroundings are tight and let me block. If I say that he doesn't have to work to help me free brothers and couples, if I say that he doesn't have to work to bind the Buddha. My free brother to do it, execute the Toda Heavenly King to make me a Zhao Yaojing, standing in the air, fearful consciousness to worship the escape of an inch of place, and I promise that my Zhao Yaoming worshipped him by mistake. Here Erlang Shen really didn't move, and he could see at a glance that these heavenly soldiers had just eaten and didn't do it. So before he made a move, he set up a basic atom, that is, you must not interfere. Gave the king of Toda a good guess, that is, to be a high-energy classic. I can't help but say that this calculation is wonderful. A pair of eagles went to monitor the 2 people of Toda Heavenly King and Su Wukong at the same time. Let's take a look at the fight between Erlang God and Su Wukong. The true army and the great sage have gone through more than 300 combinations and do not know the outcome or defeat, and the spirit of Erlang God shakes his hand on the street and becomes deep and tall, and the 2 hands hold the 3-pointed and 2 god seals, as if talking about the seal on the top of the mountain. Relatives, and Teeth are the forest god of the pighead house, is looking at the great sage. The Lord is looking at the great sage, and the magical power has become the same as the Erlang God. The face is average. Go to a Rui Sutra bone stick, but it is like the Qin Pian on the top of the Kunlun mountain, and the ground is dwelling, Erlang God. In fact, among the evil bullying shadows that have changed, there are some products that say that this son who can transform into a great prosperity, which is from here, and it has reached the 2nd stage of the battle. Kong Zhang Yangli passed the power between his body, scattered the grasshead god, and killed him with a water agility. But even the waist and throat death will be retaken by the bell monster 2 or 3,000, watching those throat corpse cannons cut the air, skimming the scissors and throwing to the running and shouting on the sea and mountains on the mountain. They seem to be flying gold, and their hearts are full. 100,000 days tomorrow will not be as powerful as the 1,200 grasshead gods of this Erlang God, and the throat of the flower over the mountain will meet the regular follow, that is basically a quick dispersal, and the heavens and tomorrows of the Toda Heavenly King will undoubtedly be put into one. In the 3rd stage of the battle, the army that crossed the mountain from Kong Zhang's own flowers was about to disperse, and he had no intention of fighting. 36 After let's go to class, we began to flee. First of all, from Kong to Ma, Erlang God to Russian sound, from Kong to Dazi Lao Erlang God to Dahai. From Kong to a fish Erlang God becomes a fish, from Kong right to water river Erlang God becomes gray river. Song Kong finally turned into a flower treasure, and Erlang Shen used egg skills to fight. Song Gong rolled down the mountain teeth and became a fish hair became 11 gon her teeth became door flashing eyes and became Uncle Zero in the eyes. Erlang Shen said, "Let me kick the door before I kick the door." After that, this Song Gong Gon Zue turned into the appearance of Erlang God and fell into the mouth of the Guanjiang River. Everyone, in fact, this behavior has no practical meaning for the battle situation. But Lao Sun, why do you still do this? First deceived into becoming Erlang God, and then ran to his hometown.